Is it your impression that there's quite a substantial chunk of younger people, what the Americans call Generation Z, the under 29s, under 30s, who are beginning to sense that they haven't been fed a great deal that they can rely on? They're starting to think for themselves, that they are becoming self-educated and are beginning to wake up, that they might form the basis of a new greatest generation?
I think it's inevitable, John, that they will, and I think that we always have to have hope for our future. Like every generation looks on the last one and thinks that, that it's not as good as the generation that they were part of. I think that, the generation that you and I are part of, it had it very, very easy. Really, you think about my parents' generation, your parents' generation, when they really had to deal with depression and with war and serious warfare. So, we have, since the end of the Second World War, lived in an environment in Australia which has been peaceful. Any wars that we had were offshore. People might have fought in them, but they weren't very many people by the scheme of things. We had very, very secure lifestyles. We lived under a security blanket that was thrown out by the United States. There were all of these institutions which looked after the way that the world ran and tried to make it a more equitable place. And they worked pretty well. They certainly worked well for Australia. I know you can make arguments that elsewhere they didn't, but that Australia had it very, very good. The last time we suffered a recession in the 1980s, I know I was in it looking for work, was in the 1980s. So, we've since the 1990s on, we've known nothing but growth. What we need to now understand is the world is changing dramatically around us. The safety net that was thrown up around the world is now being shaken by the very country that set it up. Now it's starting to question whether or not it's worth its while to pay the price of being the security guarantor for the world. That's a reasonable question, but it leaves big questions for a place like Australia. But one of the things the United States is doing is it's staying energy rich. I notice now that Canada's Prime Minister is talking about being an energy superpower, not a green energy superpower, John, an energy superpower. He's talking about building pipelines to pump oil through. He's talking about liquefied natural gas, where they might well take Australia's markets in future if we decide we're not going to be in that. So what Australia has to do is to make sure that it leaves itself in the best possible condition to deal with these extremely difficult times. We are not going to do that by becoming poor. The pathway that we're on at the moment is going to guarantee that, because it won't just be changing our electricity supply or manufacturing everything that we do. It will be shutting down our major exports and pretending that we can fill that gap with yet to be invented technologies where we'll be a green energy superpower. Look, every country on earth reckons they're going to do that. So we're going to be working in a very crowded marketplace. I think Australia should do the things that it does well. And at the moment, we are an energy superpower. We need to take advantage of that.